Perna, what are you doing, buddy?
Just my impression of the Buffalo Bills.
Is it because... Oh, Brandon.
I, too, am wide right, Tom. I, too.
You're getting fed to the pit.
Hit wide right.
Baby, we here.
We dead inside.
You in the right direction. Welcome to another edition of the Grossi Perna Show. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna, and this is G-up-B-S. And we're here talking about playoff heartbreak. There's plenty of it. And the NFC and AFC Championship games are set. We're going to kind of talk about where each team goes from here, the ones that were eliminated this weekend. You have the Bears looking to hire Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks, to make them his OC. And yeah, it's gonna be a crazy show.
Ooh.
Got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do. We got a lot.
Let's go. It's that's rough for the Bills fans. And listen, I feel for you. Not able to beat a rival in the playoffs. They're always getting the best of you. Missed field goal leading to heartbreak. As I have said for years, the Green Bay Packers, Buffalo Bills, mirror opposites. Just
yeah. Do you know how I know I'm a legit Bills fan now, Tom?
Tell me.
I lost sleep last night because of this game. I literally kept waking up in the middle of the night thinking about the game, thinking about how I was going to talk about it on today's show.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 4 or 5 times, just replaying shit in my head from that game. And I went to bed thinking, like, you know what? I'm not going to let Chiefs fans hurt me. I'm just going to detach. I'm going to build a shield, as you do as a fan. Like, I know they're going to be coming at me. I know they were chirping at me on Twitter. I'm not going to let them hurt me. I'm just going to detach from the results of this game.
No.
I'm just going to detach.
That doesn't make you a Bills fan. That just means you hate the Chiefs so much.
No.
And just like Scooter, you're going to get the same medicine as you crapped all over the Chiefs and rooted for the Bills.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying before I went to bed, those were my thoughts. I'm like, games passed. Just look at it as a football game moving forward.
Yep.
And then throughout the night, I kept dreaming / thinking about the ways the Bills could have won that game. The dropped passes. Oh my God. The drop digs pass. Like, I've only done that with Broncos games before, where it's kept me up, where I'm thinking about, oh God, if we just did this. And I was like, I'm not gonna. I'm okay. I'm not gonna think about this one too much. And then all night, it just haunted me. It haunted me.
I get you.
Because this was their window. This was a window to sneak in and lose to the Ravens. So that's what I
know they always try and beat me up to the cheeseburger stand.
Dead cheeseburger.
Yeah, you know what? To that end, after I got out the reaction video for the Chiefs and Bills fan, I just sat there. Like, when I was all done, I was exhausted. And I'm just like, damn, we could have had a Packers-Lions NFC Championship game. Like, this would have been a historic, like, one of a kind. And I was texting this to Johnny, and it's just like, damn. And it's not even because it's not my team.
Yeah.
I'm just so less interested in the Super Bowl now. Like, significantly. Because if the Chiefs win, I feel like that's more of a fun matchup. You know, again, like that, replay of the 49ers game. Like, they had a good Super Bowl. If they play the Lions, that'd be really cool because it kind of like, hey, started the season, ending the season. And if the Ravens win, I just think they're going to annihilate whatever team comes out of the NFC. Like, whether it is the Lions or whether it's the 49ers. Like, I think just the Ravens look that good. And of course, anybody can beat anybody. And I think the Chiefs and Ravens is going to be a great game. But the Ravens just look like a step above. They have looked like a step above. And yeah, it's going to be tough for them not to win the Super Bowl. So
yeah, the Ravens, you look at them, you just don't see a weakness. The Chiefs, the way they played against Buffalo, you don't really see weakness either, except for McCole Hardman.
yeah,
Like, don't give him the ball anymore. Because MVS stepped up. Travis Kelce looked like Travis Kelce again. Their defense has been good all season. So, they didn't run a fake punt. A lot of things the Chiefs did. But yeah, I don't know. I think the Super Bowl can be interesting. If the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, then for me personally, I have a villain to root against.
yeah.
So that's fine. I prefer the Ravens to go. But you're right. Like, if the Ravens are in the Super Bowl and they're facing the Lions, I'm going to be rooting for the Lions, and that one's going to be tough. So the scenarios of joy for the Super Bowl are less. Although, like, if the 49ers are there and they beat, say, the Chiefs, then I've got Kyle Shanahan to root for with the Broncos lore. Old Christian McCaffrey, born and bred in Colorado. Literally, he was bred here. His dad, Ed McCaffrey, impregnated his mother here in the state of Colorado to produce the greatest. Is Christian McCaffrey the greatest white running back in NFL history? Probably. And of course, you got John Lynch, former Bronco over there. So the Niners, I know they hurt you, but they're kind of like the Broncos of the West.
Nope.
So I can find things to root for, but yeah, that Bills loss hurt. I told myself I wasn't going to let it get to me, and it did. It did.
I think it's accurate. I mean, well, that's the thing too. I mean, Perna's just, he hates birds. Legendary bird
I'm
hater.
pro bird again suddenly. It's weird.
But now you just woken up and you're just like, I am really sad, but I was listening to the birds singing and you're like, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Go
I am
Ravens.
pro birds and I am anti fossils. I hate fossils, specifically arrowheads. Arrowhead fossils, if I am ever elected president, we're getting rid of them all.
I think those are just artifacts, buddy.
Whatever. Artifacts, fossils. Who the fuck knows how science works, Tom?
Scientists.
Not from what I've seen. Not according to me and Aaron Rodgers. We
I
hate
was
scientists.
just about to say, Aaron. Yeah,
This is my war on science.
That's where the show's going. Every sports program's doing it now. I do want to talk about that Bills game because it's one of my buddy Jimmy texted me too, kind of just after that game, and yes, Ben,
Suck it,
yes,
Ben.
yes, Ben,
Suck
yes,
it, Ben.
Let's go, Ben.
That's coming from a Packers fan. I expected to take shots from Chiefs fans.
Let's go. Let's go.
Fine, Ben. I'm glad the Packers lost.
What the hell, man?
Well, not for you. That comment's here. It's
No, you can't just say that and be like, no, that all-encompassing comment
I'm
doesn't
volatile
impact.
today. I'm emotional.
You are.
I'm
Wow, so
emotional.
you're me today.
I'm you today.
You're incredibly emotional. I want to talk about the Bills because, like, I feel so bad for their fans, obviously the fan base, like, because you talk about windows, and I agree. I think you and I, right after the game, we kind of talked about this a little bit, that even if the Bills won, it was going to be tough to beat the Ravens. But I think it kind of, you get past that hump of, all right, we beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, and even if you lose to the Ravens next week, yes, you're still upset about the window. Yes, there would still be changes in the team, but you kind of feel a little bit better going forward because you kind of like exercise those playoff demons.
Yeah.
Now it's like we lost to the Chiefs again. We were at home. We had everything we wanted except for all the injuries that we've occurred, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
And now you're heading into an offseason wondering, is McDermott the guy? Do we have the team that can like compete? Because it doesn't seem like we do, and we're just falling short. We can't stay healthy. Like, what is going on and how do we fix it? And those answers are not easy for this fan base right now.
Yeah, they're probably going to have to talk to Josh Allen, do some contract
True.
restructuring.
True.
I think this is the first year where his cap becomes like a big hit on them. And I thought, honestly, Terrell Bernard was going to be the biggest loss for the Bills in that game, but it was Gabe Davis. Like, Diggs ain't it right now. I think they got to move on from Diggs. I know that's an emotional thing to say in this very moment, but it's like those deep balls. Like, if that's Gabe Davis out there, you feel like he's making those plays. And the whole narrative all season, the Chiefs can't get the production out of their receivers, the drops, but that's what it cost the Bills. And MVS somehow catches both of his passes, both of them important, one really contested. So,
yeah.
Also, what we learned is if your team loses in the big game, do not go back to the field and watch your opponent celebrate, okay? Stephon Diggs started that trend, and it has done nobody any favors.
Like, we'll be back in this moment.
No, you won't.
Not. They're usually not.
You'll just see that shit when you close your eyes, and it will haunt you forever.
Wet potato with a kitty. Boop, for the kitty. I did not see that. No, I didn't even know. I didn't even know he went to. I didn't know he was in Vegas. I saw he's playing golf.
All over the place. I thought he was in the woods, detaching from the season or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta tell you, not having an offseason of Aaron Rodgers drama, I'm just like, cool. Like, how much is the contract gonna be for Jordan Love? And are we gonna fire Joe Barry? Like, those are the two things, and like add to the secondary. And I gotta say, it's preferable.
Oh wow, is that a pancreas?
Because
Aaron Rodgers is like, I'm going to go to the woods. I need to escape all of the distractions of the world, reset my mind, get in tune with nature. And as soon as I'm done with that, I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to ruin everything I just cleansed. I'm going to Vegas, baby.
To the place. LT right. Boop. Fade for the kitty. Oh, to the bench and yelled motivation at them all night. Hey, that's awesome that you got to experience that game, though.
That's pretty cool.
What a game for you to go to. Yeah, as a Chiefs fan, like to go to that game and experience that, like that's got to be pretty damn awesome. And there's a lot coming out of this game. We'll talk more about the Bills, but dude, like even Jason Kelsey being there, which is all over that, and he came out of the suite, right? He's like chugging beers and stuff. Yeah. And just when they're like cutting to Taylor Swift, and you just see Jason Kelsey just like rubbing his chest and chugging. I'm just like, yeah, I love Jason Kelsey. I mean,
honestly, Jason Kelsey should retire and run for president. I would vote for Jason Kelsey. I don't care where he stands on any issue at all. He's my guy.
Yeah, pretty much everybody eats bread.
True. That's true.
He is so likable that he makes Travis Kelsey bearable. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's got to be his glow just shines onto Travis and makes me able to tolerate Travis. That's how likable Jason is.
I do hope that, and I said this starting this season, it was after they won the Super Bowl, the Chiefs this last February. You just got to embrace it. Like, you're just the new evil empire. Teams want us, like fan bases want to see you lose. Like they do, because you've gotten too good. You've won a couple of Super Bowls. You're constantly there. They retweeted that out yesterday. Just like the floor of Patrick Mahomes is making the AFC Championship game. Like, that's insanity. And like that 100%, there's envy, there's jealousy, 100% there from lots and lots of fans. But you just got to embrace it. You just got to be like, yep, new evil empire, not going away.
They're going to go away.
Your boos give me strength.
That's the thing too, right? Mm-hmm. Where I think Chiefs fans should be thanking me because without people like me, it's too easy for you. You need to know that people hate watching your team win to make you feel better about your wins. Like, we're doing a service by rooting against you. We're keeping you relevant. We're giving you value as other fans. Because when you win too much, okay, I don't care what fan base you are, what sport it is, you become annoying as shit, right? Like the Detroit Lions and their fans, everybody loves the Lions right now.
Zach Ertz just signed with the Lions.
Bowls, what's that?
Zach Ertz just signed with the Lions.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yo, Zach Ertz, sorry. Like, that literally just came out. Zach Ertz just signed with the Lions.
It's like, I'll join them.
That's
when you
interesting.
If the Lions went on to win 3 of the next 4 Super Bowls, in 4 years, we'd be like, you know what? Lions fans are actually really annoying.
Yeah.
We'd be like, they're unbearable. And it's not like a knock on specific fan bases. It's when you have that success and it's sustained, then you just become the enemy. You can be the nicest one of the fans, and you'll say one thing that's mildly kind of like poking the bear and be like, God, I hate those people. Those fans are just like the worst. So yeah, you have to embrace that role, Chiefs fans. It's a role cyclical. I wish I had at this point. Yes,
you wish that. I mean, I was talking to Chiefs fans when I was in Kansas City. It was kind of like that. It was like we were bad for a while. You know, like we didn't have that success, or we were just like kind of middle of the road. And now like we're having all this success, and like people are hating us. They turn around, like Chiefs hated the Broncos, right? The Broncos had that success going to those Super Bowls, win Super Bowls in the 90s with Manning, like all that stuff.
Manning, yeah.
Yeah, but it's cyclical. And that, like, they hated Seahawks fans for a while, and they had the Legion of Boom, and they won a Super Bowl, and they were really good. Sure. Patriots fans, of course, know this. Packers fans, of course, know this. Lions fans are starting to get it because, like, while I would say a good chunk of the majority of, like, NFL fan base are like, yeah, go Lions, because it's, like, a cool story, you know, against 49ers, what have you. There's also people like, all right, I'm done with them. Like, in the NFC North and things like that. Some Vikings fans are like, nah, we done. And I think it's just that's what comes with winning, right?
Yeah.
Which is a price you pay every single time.
Yeah.
But at some point, you just got to be like, yeah, this is the identity now.
Yeah, like think about like Warriors fans before like Curry got there. Nobody's complaining about Warriors fans. You know what I mean? Now everybody like hates Warriors fans. Everybody's actually Yankees fans. People have been complaining about them probably the longest.
Forever.
Since the 1920s. They're like, these damn Yankees. That's where the phrase comes from. It was Yankees fans. It was.
I just think, you win more, you're gonna get hated more. And
it's the territory.
For the Bills, I think it's also there were so many people rooting for the Bills because they are that massive underdog, even at home, right? When they were like at point like favored to win, they're that underdog, like get over the hump. I will say, as a Packers fan who is used to a lot of fan bases hating us, the amount of like, wow, it's Jordan Love, like different team, what have you. You guys like went toe to toe with the 49ers. 49ers fans have been super cool and been like, wow, like. That it made us sweat. Like that was scary. And I was like, okay, this was the one season I got to have where there were no expectations, young team. If the Packers do well again next year and the year after, it's gonna be right back on the bandwagon and people hating us. And it's all good.
Sure.
It's just
sure.
This was a unique season for that because I got to like sit back and be like, no expectations, let's see what happens. And I haven't had that for a while. And it was nice. It was really, really nice. But yeah, dude, I like what if you're the Bills, like, you're talking McDermott? Is he the answer? I know that they got you there.
We talked about that earlier this season in that, like, maybe the Bills just need something different there. I don't, outside of the stupid fake punt, which ultimately they kind of got saved. I don't think McDermott's necessarily the problem. You know, I just
don't know if he's the answer. Like it's kind of like a.
I guess like who are you gonna get that's better?
I mean, this is the coach. Like if you want to, like this is the offseason to go and try and get like a better coach, and I think you can get an upgrade.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think Mike Vrabel would be fun.
Yeah, but
you talk about Derrick Henry to Buffalo. I mean, I'm just saying. Nothing set in stone yet. Why not?
I mean, Vrabel there would be fun. Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Like, Vrabel would be fun. He knows the division, right? Go and play against the Patriots.
This is a late time to make that firing and then
correct.
Assume, another team doesn't have like a head start on Vrabel. But like that's like a huge risk. Like you could fire him today and the Chargers announce we've decided to hire Mike Vrabel. Like, I don't know. But
so oh, no, it's not. So, Zach, if you've watched Jordan Love this season, it's only uncharacteristic for the past like month and a half because he's been playing much better football. Yeah. You go back and like against the Broncos, against the Raiders, like made those kind of throws where it's just like, all right, we're just going to chuck it down there and hope for the best. And it was unfortunate because, they had time, they had the plays, they had the timeouts, but
I think
he said that. He's like, it's a mortal sin. That's what his words are. He's like, a mortal sin. And like, it's something he's going to learn from.
Yeah, he's a young quarterback. Well, he's an old young quarterback, right? He's like 25, but it's his first year. That's just a situation that you get better at as you mature as a QB, right? Where you don't feel in that situation. I think like if you're looking at a guy like Rodgers before him or a Tom Brady, and they've got like a minute on the clock and a couple timeouts, to them that's an eternity. They're like, I got so much time to work with here. Young quarterback sees that and they're like, I got to make a play. I got to make a play right now to help my team.
Yes.
And that's where you see those mistakes. I think it's hard to simulate those situations with the actual pressure and magnitude of it.
Of course.
And it's a bad throw, obviously. And we saw Josh Allen with the game on the line. He tried to get one to Khalil Shakir in the back of the end zone. He kind of runs into his lineman there.
He's going to win.
Baker Mayfield, game on the line, throws it to the Lions. So like 3 games kind of had those similar situations there.
Yeah.
And I think it's just young guy, give him time, let him understand those situations. And you can only practice those by playing in games and being in them.
Which is why I'm like, that's why I was like, whatever happened. Of course, the Packers still ripped my heart out of my chest. But like, that's why you want to be in those situations, because it's almost impossible to replicate them. So now that you do that and like, okay, Jordan Love now has experience, and all those young guys have now experience being in the playoffs, winning a playoff game, and nearly beating the number 1 seed in the divisional round. And like, that's kind of things go, okay, we've been there before. Now let's try to get better and get over that hump. And for the Packers, the future is incredibly bright. I'm super excited what they're going to do for this offseason. But it's just the way that it ends. Oof.
Potato. Go Lions and 49ers. What if I root for them both? What happens then? What happens if I root for them both, Tom?
Buckle up. We're going to have some fun.
Here's the other thing. The quarterback narrative always gets
Patrick Mahomes
so skewed in the playoffs, right? Where Josh Allen, because the Bills didn't win that game.
Yep.
You're like, Josh Allen's not that good. Oh my God, what did he do? Like that sort of shit, right? CJ Stroud, though, he gets a pass because he's still young.
Rookie.
But like the Ravens shut him down. Played really well. And then got outplayed by Brock Purdy for like the last 8 minutes of a game.
Yeah.
The playoffs, it is. I wish there was just a better way to indicate how much of a team effort it is in the playoffs versus your quarterback. And like Baker Mayfield, he had the 2 picks in that game. One was not his fault, right? It bounced off. Was it Mike Evans' hands was it a tip ball? I forget. The last pick, Baker's fault. But he had like 350 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Like if you're looking at what a quarterback did, he did a ton through the air with his arm, and it wasn't enough for the Bucs because they got outplayed as a team. And we put so much of it on the QBs in the postseason, but your team's got to be good on every single level. And that includes your special teams. Like we saw the only reason the Texans scored special teams punt return. And we saw the Packers missed a field goal, the Bills missed a field goal, and the Buccaneers missed a field goal. And any of those kicks go in, it's possibly a different outcome.
Sure.
So it's unfair to put it all on the QBs at this point. And Love is taking a lot of that heat, but like you could argue for a lot of that game, he played as well as any quarterback in this weekend of football.
I mean, some of the throws were absolutely insane. I think it was more like I saw it was like this whole season when Joe Barry, like the defense messed up, it was like crucify Joe Barry because you've seen it a million times. With Jordan Love, this is his first year as a starter. So there's a little bit more great. Now, of course, there's already people who, and they've had an anti-Jordan Love agenda, start Sean Clifford, all this garbage, whatever. Don't pay attention to that crap. But for Love, there is a little bit more grace given because it's like, all right, first year starter has been playing really well. A lot of, I think, the heat as a Packers fan went towards Carlson for missing the kick.
Yeah.
But then that also transferred to LaFleur, especially with that quote of, I pray every single time that he's out there. And like that makes that look bad. And LaFleur has had issues with that before. And Bisaccia, because that's now special teams that have cost us against the 49ers again. Because when special teams was garbage a couple years ago, which eventually brought in Rich Bisaccia, need the block punt. So it's a number of things, but you're 100% correct. Because the defense, they played well. But that last drive, they didn't get after Brock Purdy, and they just kind of moved down the field, and they scored.
Yep.
So it's when it counts, the special teams, defense, offense, quarterback, etc. When it all comes together and like one of those pieces fail in the postseason, that could lose you a game.
Yeah. I was, and I'm going to give son of a bitch Tom Brady a little credit here. Because I listened to, he was talking, I think it was when he was talking to Edelman. Maybe it was Edelman and Gronk. I forget. There's so many podcast clips out now. I can't even keep track.
Sure.
Edelman's really good, by the way. But Brady was talking about what he and his teammates did every week to prepare for games. And he said he would go through and cut up the film of like their practice and put it together on all the things that like they did wrong and what they did well. And it was a meeting he held, players only, outside of what the coaches do.
Yep.
And he's like, we're the guys out there playing, and we have to be accountable for what we do on the field.
Yeah.
So Brady would lead those meetings. This is something like I didn't know, but him putting like the film together from the practices, like to make sure like all the guys are on the same page. And you wonder why, like outside of Bill and their regiment of just insane accountability in coaching, you've got a quarterback doing the same, and in a way that's probably more relatable to the guys.
Yes,
I'm sure they much rather be in that meeting with Tom and looking through things than with Bill. But like that type of thing, I'm like, dang, like that's just another thing you learn later. And you're like, no wonder they were so good week in and week out, always prepared. Seemed like no matter what the situation was, specifically at the end of games, they had a plan for it. And you saw like the Bills didn't feel like they had a plan. They moved down the field on that last drive, but when they got close, they couldn't put it in.
Yeah.
Packers, obviously young QB. Buccaneers almost got back in it, but like that's that insane work ethic that just you got to have that extra thing, that extra year of looking like a fucking idiot and losing, to put it politely. But you don't want to look like a fucking idiot out there. So let's take an extra 2 hours on Tuesday or Friday and look through these practice reps.
Oh, just give it cousin Eddie this.
Get off my lawn.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Fit the theme.
That's the film we'll be watching.
To that point, though, what you're talking about is so Bo Melton from weeks ago was like, oh, Jordan Love is inviting all the receivers over like every Monday throughout the entire season. That turned out not to be true. Like, literally, they asked Jordan Love, they're like, wow, that's amazing. You've done that. He's like, we've done it twice. Like, which is amazing. But even like that level of getting outside from the coaches and that gelling off the field and kind of getting that sense of knowing each other, like, that's what made Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb so good. That's what made, and because one of my favorite plays in Packers history, right, is Randall Cobb on 4th down beating the Bears in week 17. That was an unscripted play. Like, Randall Cobb did not run the route he was supposed to run. He just saw it and was like, I'm going to run straight, threw his hand up, and then Rodgers hit him. That's the kind of relationship he had with Jordy. That's the kind of relationship he had with Javonte.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of just, like, being able to understand one another. And I think that having that connection with a receiver is great. If you can have that kind of connection with the entire offense / like all your receivers, that just goes even better to the results that will be eventually put on the field.
That's what the greats do. Like, you saw Brady do it with his receivers, Peyton Manning. like he came to Denver and it took a little bit, but him and Demaryius Thomas, same page all the time. Him and Eric Decker developed it. And even like Julius Thomas, like Manning could look at him, and they could know what, you know, it's a not whatever their like little signals are. They just know, and they know those quarterbacks know how to beat every defense, and then they just do it.
Yeah, I think for the Bills going forward, it's just going to have to be asking like really tough questions. Like, is McDermott your guy? Can you win with him? And then it goes, okay, where the hell do you go? Because Josh Allen, regardless of flaws, regardless of what you think about him, Josh Allen is the QB for the Bills. That's not changing. That's going to be consistent.
I mean, if they don't want him,
they don't want Russell Wilson.
Okay.
So the point that I'm trying to make is that that's your guy. That's not changing at all. That's how you build the team around, and then that's it. So when you brought in guys like Shakir, who can make plays, Gabe Davis, who can make plays, had a better season than he did last year, Stephon Diggs, who was why they made that trade for Stephon Diggs to give him that number one wide receiver, and James Cook. I mean, arguably the best, most dominant game the Bills played this season was against the Cowboys in terms of against a playoff caliber opponent. They played really well against the Eagles, don't get me wrong, but it was the Cowboys. They just ran it down their throat. James Cook was amazing. And it made Josh Allen look even better because he had that consistent target. They were able to run the ball. They were able to just, dump it off to him, and they did well. And I think it's all right, while you have brought in guys like Von Miller, which I know Perna is your guy, it hasn't worked out. And that's just because of injury, and that's just because hasn't been there.
He made one nice play last night. He had a tackle for a loss against Isaiah Pacheco. Basically the only time I saw somebody tackle Pacheco for a loss.
Correct. With that contract, you're not giving him that contract to make one nice play in the playoffs, right?
No, of course not.
Yeah, and so, but my point, you trade for Rasul Douglas, right? Which I thought that would be a good thing. You're trying to make that team better and try to make that defense better, but it might be one of those things where it's okay. You just have to further invest in that offense and just try and be unstoppable because otherwise I don't know what you do.
Yeah,
we could build the defense up, but if the same offensive woes still exist.
They got to draft receiver. They got to draft a receiver in the first round. I just looked at Stephon Diggs' contract. $27 million cap hit this season for the Bills. Yeah. Their out year with Diggs is next season. So there's that. Let me look at Von Miller's contract too right now. Von Miller. Here's one thing that also went unnoticed in that game.
Yeah,
one, I would say Pacheco was probably the Chiefs' most important player. 97 rushing yards, but it just felt like he kept turning no gains or short gains into 6, 7, 8 yard gains for the Chiefs offense. Their offensive line. Interior of their line, I saw a stat on Twitter last night. It was Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones, I think, right? On the interior there. Held them to 0 pressures all night. And now it's been one of the strengths of the Bills' defense is that interior. Oliver had his best season ever, his most pressures recorded ever. And the Chiefs' offensive line, specifically on the inside, they did work. So
I think it's decisions that have been made and kind of also the way that the fan base was perceived, with the black hole and everything like that. But Raiders fans cool. I'm cool. Raiders
black
fans.
Hole. That's where my heart used to be.
That's where it is right now.
Hole. Yeah, Von Miller also his out year is in 2025. He's a $23 million cap hit.
That contract and signing is going to look really bad.
So it looks gonna be bad. This season might not be this is going to be tricky. You got a Miller contract that's inflated. You got a Diggs contract that's inflated. Unless Diggs plays well next year, which he could, but he didn't look the same this season. So yeah, those are two big ones.
So.
And then what's Josh Allen's? Let me just look up at Josh Allen's right now.
What you're talking about right now is they brought in Von. Do you remember? I remember vividly. They signed Von Miller. They're going to the Super Bowl. That's it. That's the last piece they needed. Their defense is going to get crazy good. Von Miller gets injured, and then that whole defense gets injured, and you're just okay. And
it sucks because
it might just be
he
luck.
was playing very well before he got hurt for Buffalo last year.
Yeah,
and then this year he's coming back from an ACL. He wasn't the same. Okay, so and Allen's is $47 million. So you got 47, 23, and $27 million in your cap tied up to Josh, Vaughn, and Diggs. Now the cap goes up, but that's tricky. That's tricky.
I take that. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think receivers, what was said before, receiver definitely. Defense is going to be challenging. but you just have to give that guy as many weapons as you possibly can. And like Gabe, because I feel like Gabe Davis is good, but like I know we had like issues with drops last year, and I feel like he's a good like wide receiver 3, you'd probably say
2. You give Gabe 2, W2.
Because I feel like Khalil Shakir could like maybe fight for that spot because like he has those.
I think
bursts that he's
Shakir
really
can
good.
fill the Diggs role if you know.
I think I had to get a superstar for that, but I think at the end of the day, like you are looking at these guys who are good, but they're not great yet. I'm not saying they need like they're not going to be.
Yeah.
But right now, they need greatness like on that side of the ball. And that's so like that's really easy for me to say.
They need their Justin
That's
Jefferson.
difficult.
They need their Tyreek Hill. They need that guy. And
that's what
Diggs was
Stephon-
that guy until
Yes.
this season.
Yes.
Diggs was great until this year. Maybe it's an off year. Maybe he's dealing with injuries like we don't know about. There's all those things.
Tough to go. I would maybe
Save it for the Super Bowl.
yeah.
I mean, but also NFC Championship game. They haven't been there since '92. So,
No, but it's not at home. Like if it was at home, I'd say go. But to go all the way to San Fran if they lose is just I don't know about that. You got to hope that they'll be there again.
Ooh.
You know,
Devontae Adams in Buffalo. Yeah, I'll take it, baby.
no, still fix the refs, fix the officiating. Always, we love admin though. We love admin.
Yeah.
Always.
I thought outside of your game, the officials that was the worst one.
Dude, that was like garbage. Like I'm not
Right.
gonna sit here and be like boo-hoo refs. It
This-
was just like the spots were just objectively bad.
They're like
And it was
balls right here. Actually, I think maybe here. It's like they just hold the ball up to the crowd and wait for the crowd to say where
Yeah.
they want them to place it.
Oh.
Only 7 penalties in Bills Chiefs. I like that.
It depends, Jason. It depends on the team because like you could be McVay was there for a while and like that also helped. They build that foundation like the Rams, so they basically traded for their Super Bowl. Right? A lot of now they did draft well and like that was a big foundation of the guys who majority played in that Super Bowl season, but dude, it's sometimes you just hit it the right time, you get lucky, you're able to get one and then you're good. Like there's been a lot of those. I mean, the Giants, dude, when the Giants won their 2 Super Bowls, nobody expected them to.
It can happen. Hey, it could happen.
It could. GG's. I do want to talk about the Buccaneers and Lions. So that game was kind of it was a little slower, you know, kind of a defensive battle, definitely in the first half. You know, it's tied, kind of tough for any team to get into the end zone. It was a 10-10, I think, right going into half. If you're a Buccaneers fan, I think like you have to be ecstatic about this season because from the very little expectations, right? Didn't know if Baker was the guy, seen as kind of like a stopgap QB. And now I think he's done enough to not only earn a contract, but now there's like, ooh, like there's actual excitement here because like we have a good squad. You got to make sure Mike Evans comes back to that team no matter what. But it's like you add through the draft, and I think the Buccaneers are exciting in a division which could be getting better, but is still open.
Yes.
So, and even like this season, there was plenty of times the Buccaneers did not play great football. And then there was times where they looked amazing. I mean, against the Packers, for example. The
Bucs
work on that consistency, they're rocking.
The Bucs were a weird team all year long.
Yep.
Like that's just the simplest way to put it. They were weird. And then they got in. They handled their business against the Eagles, and they played a respectable game against the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, speaking of the Lions, I sort of feel like the not just the Lions, because we know the Lions trolled Scooter,
Which was amazing.
I feel like the New York Post is directly trolling him as well, as they have labeled the Lions the real America's team.
Yep, I'll do.
And I feel like whoever wrote that headline at the New York Post was thinking of Scooter and his love for the Cowboys specifically.
This one, the closest one was Geno Smith. Geno Smith, it was kind of like seen as a stopgap QB, like he wasn't getting anything,
That's
and then he
great.
got a contract.
Dude,
So
a Geno contract from the Bucs, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Because, man, Baker's so
I don't know who
hard.
has it now, but I think you get him like a 3-year deal, like have like an out after 2, and like worst case scenario, he mentors somebody.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's a really, I think that's smart.
Right? You give him a Geno contract.
Yeah, 100%.
Call it a day.
100%.
Because worst case scenario, again, you have the out. Well, I'm sorry. So New York Post is trolling also. It's weird because I see Packers fans, like there's some Packers fans that are kind of like, oh, like we're not rooting for the Lions. I wouldn't even say I'm rooting for them. At this point, I'm just like, it's cool to see them win. I'm really happy for the fan base. I'm really happy for like the city of Detroit because they are a division rival. I am utterly broken about the fact that the Packers are not going to be playing them next week because I think the Packers could have won.
Yeah.
And like you might just be lining up for whoever's going to get the crap beaten out of them, most likely by the Ravens in the Super Bowl. But man, like I started to dream. That maybe I could see my team in the Super Bowl. And I was like, it was next right year.
There. I predicted Packers-Texans Super Bowl for 2025 on Twitter. Nobody forget. You're in the same position I've been in, Tom. And it's when I was watching Chiefs and Patriots in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
It's like, do I root against the division rival Chiefs? And they hadn't won their Super Bowl yet. Or do I root against my sworn enemy, Tom Brady and the Patriots? That's like Niners, and it would be, if it were like the Vikings, it would probably be worse for you.
Oh my God, no. And I would be the biggest 49ers fan ever if it was the Vikings. That's not even a question.
But it's tough when it's
Lions
a division rival, even if it is a feel-good story like the Lions. I rooted for the Chiefs to beat the Patriots. I did. And they didn't. Tom Brady got touched on the shoulder. They got roughing the passer, and the Chiefs lost. But I've been there.
I saw that. I mean, it's just difficult because I do not like the San Francisco 49ers simply because, like, again, they were super nice during like 30 and 30, beautiful stadium, like beautiful museum, 100%. It's just, dude, like, I'm just so tired of losing to them. Yeah. Like, it is just so exhausting. And like, I think my team losing to them again, and we could have played the Lions in the NFC Championship game at Ford Field where the Packers could have won. But I mean this wholeheartedly. I am the biggest Packers fan. Like, I love the Green Bay Packers, right? More than anything. I love the Packers.
Really? I never got that impression.
I know, it's crazy. Even if the Packers lost in the NFC Championship game, the level of satisfaction, I'd be like, wow, like, made it to the NFC Championship game first year. And like, it's for the Lions to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to be happy my team lost at all. But I'm going to be like, damn, all right, winner. It's like that legit is like a North pride. Like, wow, the two best teams in the NFC are NFC North teams. Like, that's pretty damn cool. Like, we could have had that. We could have held it over the Vikings and Bears. It would have made it even better. And then now, like,
being there with the Lions just helps you shit on the Vikings and Bears harder.
And that brings me warmth. And we had it. But now, like, someone did remind me of this. And I think this is what's making me root for the Lions a little bit more. If the Lions somehow, some way get to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl, the only team in the division without a Super Bowl ring would be the Vikings. And that would give me a level of like, yeah, I got to watch the Lions win their first Super Bowl. It's not my team. My team could have been there. I get it. And that would be a lot of complicated feelings to deal with. But the amount of crapping on the Vikings I would do would just be amazing. And Lions fans could then join in. They've been sitting on the sidelines. Yeah. They can finally get it. Bears fans who have been like left out in the cold, they can come in now and just be like, listen, we all hate each other, but it would be marvelous. So I think I just talked myself into like, go Lions.
That's funny. The whole time, the Lions fans, whenever they see like division Twitter wars, they're just like, we're going to sit this one out, guys. We're just, we know what punches are going to be thrown in our direction. We're sitting it out. But if they win that Super Bowl, they're like, let's get in the mix, baby.
Let's get it, baby. Because even the Bears, right? Yeah. And we see how bad that is. Even the Bears, they could turn around and be like, at least we won a ring. 85, baby. You can stay in the 80s like it's Back to the Future. Like, that's fine. You still got Lions. One.
They can be like, Minnesota, you were in the Super Bowl 4 times. We went there once. We went there once and got a ring.
And we got it. It was actually super easy. I don't know why it was so difficult for you guys.
Wow.
So, yes, my hatred of the Vikings is that strong. So
that's hilarious.
And that's just God gave me.
You know what I don't hate, Tom? Underdog Fantasy. Bam!
Hey.
Woo! Didn't see that ad read coming, but guess what? We just slapped you upside the head with our favorite sponsor, our only sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, where my fantasies go to die. Really? Because I did an all Bills pick'em and I did an all Packers pick'em.
No good.
Turned out to be a curse. Both those teams lose. So you better believe this weekend I will be doing an all Chiefs pick'em. Okay. I'm going higher on every Chiefs player that I can, lower on every Ravens player I can. You can join with me once those are available later in the week.
Good.
Until then, you got NBA drafts, you got golf drafts.
Flamed.
I'll be honest, I don't really know how the golf fantasy scoring works. Got the dinger, the perfect game, the bunt, and the way too early dance. NBA, you can do NBA playoff drafts? Oh my goodness. Do we have any NFL ones available? Oh, private drafts. Maybe I'll host some of those for you guys. But if you're going to play Underdog Fantasy, just use our links in the description or our code GPS. It's the name of this show. GPS, they'll match your first deposit up to $100. Easy way to win. Just do the opposite of me. Whatever you see me picking on Underdog, just be like, let me pick the opposite of that, and I'll probably 20x my money, which you can do in your pick'ems. 5 picks, you can up to 20x it with the Scorchers. Even more. Underdog Fantasy, where my fantasy is the Bills actually won. Oh, God, I'm just watching the Josh Allen fumble that the Bills walked away with. And that's what really, if you're a Bills fan and you think about the 2 breaks that you caught, which were the touchback fumble and then Josh Allen fumbling, getting the ball back. And even the first series, didn't Diggs and Cook both put the ball on the ground and Buffalo kept it?
It was like that first series.
You had 4
was
lucky breaks, 1 for each Super Bowl loss. And it's still, God said, not today. Not today. Oh, it's like, how do you beat that?
Yeah, I would think about that. I mean, again, I'm going to do it again when we hit 1 million subscribers. That'll be the last time I do it. But yes, that'd be cool to start like in LA and then end in Green Bay. I'd be cool with that.
What if it's not 30 and 30? What if it's every single stadium and arena in every state for as many days as it takes?
No.
Come on, let's torture you even more.
No.
What if it's every person's house in America?
I don't think people want.
But everybody cooks you a nice meal.
I mean, I don't want to put that on other people.
What if it's every rest stop?
Well, I don't want to do that.
You know what happens at rest stops at nighttime, don't you?
You stop to pee. And you upload a Steelers video in Arkansas, at like 2 a.m.
Is that where you guys did it?
That's what we did. Yeah, Pastor was driving us. We were going to Memphis. Just walking in.
Rest stop has great Wi-Fi.
It was not great. We just had to upload it, and we had to pee really bad, and we were driving forever. So
damn.
Yep.
Yubber damn.
Oh, listen, Perna always loved that rule, but yeah, that touchback rule. Which again, if that does go away, I'm like, that's just so crappy, man. Hold on to the ball. You risk it. That's on you, buddy. That's on you. Like, what are you going to do? Just put it back at the 1? The only thing I think I would like, we just talked about that. The only thing I would like is if they get rid of that rule and they say it's not a touchback anymore, you got to lose like 15 yards.
You lose 15 points, actually. You're stripped of a Super Bowl ring if that happens to your team.
So what happens to the Vikings then?
They
win a Super Bowl and they just take it out and just give it to the other team.
Yeah,
I'd like that. I like that. We'll see.
What's his body language right now?
I get it.
I dare you to re-sign me. Try and offer me a contract.
Listen,
I don't know, like
build something special.
Baker got him the ball. Mike Evans was the only receiver with 100+ receiving yards this weekend, and he dropped an easy one. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we just spelled. Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And let's be
God, I
honest.
know.
We saw a lot of defenders drop interceptions. So credit CJ for catching it,
This is the other thing I want to talk about that 49ers game, because like Brock Purdy's like getting crapped on a lot because he did not play a good game. And I think we have gotten to the point where you can't criticize Brock Purdy a lot because there are so many people that hate Brock Purdy and
It's
have
weird, too.
whatever this like weird ass agenda against Brock Purdy. I think he's a good quarterback. He had a really clutch drive, and when he needed to be clutch, he was clutch. Before that, the Packers dropped a bunch of interceptions, did not take advantage of that. He did not play well, but when he had to, he did. I don't think he's an elite quarterback or amazing, but it's also his second year as a starter. Like,
for a guy you expected nothing from.
I think one of the reasons why he gets a lot of hate, yes, he's on the 49ers, but I think a reason why he gets a lot of hate is because the 49ers have so many great players on that squad that they're like, oh, the only reason he's doing well is because they have all these players, they have these coaches.
Yeah, that's how football works.
Like, it's like, guys, like this, I think it's the dumbest narrative.
Yeah.
And I really just turned it off and I don't listen to him at all. But as soon as like you have talking heads saying, wore a backwards hat, not a franchise QB. I'm like, I can't take this seriously anymore. Like, if we're going to have an actual conversation about Brock Purdy and his stats and like how he does under like pressure and stuff like that, we could have that conversation. But it doesn't seem like a majority of like talking heads are willing to have that conversation.
Look how long it took Mahomes and the Chiefs offense to look good this year, right? When Mahomes was getting let down by his lack of playmakers. And the Niners lose Deebo Samuel in that game.
True.
He might not even play this weekend, so they're going to be down possibly one of their most impactful players. And I think, and I was critical of Brock Purdy during the game because he was like, one thing we have said about Brock Purdy, even if you're like critiquing him, he's accurate with the football. He gets the ball where it's supposed to be. And in that game, he was not accurate. And I think more than any of the games, he was affected by those wet, slippery balls. Like, I think he was struggling to grip the football and get it on target. And
which
we've seen before. The
before.
Weather's good next week in Santa Clara. I think he's going to look better.
And that, dude, we've seen Brock Purdy struggle in the elements before. Like, he has struggled in the rain.
Yeah.
And now here, like, now it's supposed to be 68 degrees and sunny on Sunday.
For people with normal hand sizes, it kind of happens sometimes. All right.
I think they're gonna look significantly better.
Just chill. Let us normal hand sized people struggle to throw a wet football a little bit. All right.
Again, the touchback, I think you just keep it. I think it's just, dude, like, there needs to be consequences for the offense. There has to be. It's just like, well, he reached and he fumbled and now it goes to the back of the end zone. All right, just put him at the one again.
No.
Like, come on.
Defense made a play. They should be rewarded.
Or the offense screwed up.
If your Packers won, and if they won because Darnell Savage picked him, and if there were those two picks that you guys should have had, then I think the critiques of Brock Purdy would be a little more merited in that game, because they got away with a couple, but a lot of guys got away with a few over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
no birds.
It's dumb. It's really, really dumb. And it's like, dude, I swear, there wasn't a lot. There was folks in the chat when Lamar Jackson was rushing it in and defeating, like, kicking the crap out of the Texans. Sorry, Texans. Yeah. Like, kicking in that second half. And they're like, this isn't going to help, like, those running back narratives that he's rushing it in for touchdowns. So I was like, who gives a crap? He's taking his team to the AFC Championship game. I don't care if the only touchdowns he has are rushing touchdowns. Who gives a crap? He's a good quarterback because he's leading his team to victory. Like,
I can fix the narrative on Lamar Jackson so easily.
It's so dumb.
All he has to do are two little things. One, he has to throw the ball once a game as far as he can throw it, like Josh Allen. We saw Josh Allen flick a bean 80 yards, and he could have done that from sitting on a toilet, right? So Lamar's just got to just chuck it as far as he can once a game. And also, he just needs to look cooler when he's throwing. He doesn't look cool enough when he's throwing the football. He looks very cool running the football, but he's got to find a little way, like Mahomes does, like some of this shit, right? And some of that stuff. If Lamar can just do a couple of those a game, people will be like, damn, dude, did you see that throw Lamar made? Instead, Lamar's just finding the open guys and throwing very Brock Purdy like precision passes. Everyone's like, that's kind of boring.
At the end of the day, you mentioned that it is like a team sport, which is the most like elementary level, but it gets forgotten so much.
Yeah.
You pay the quarterback all that money because they touch the ball
Everything goes
every single play. It comes down to them majority of the time. I don't care if they're running it. I don't care if they're passing it. I don't care if they're taking a knee. I don't care if they're just not throwing interceptions. Can that guy get you to win games? That's it. At the end of the day, can they help your team win games? And if the answer is yes, you got your quarterback. Now, there's levels to that, of course, because there's guys who can take over the game. There's guys who can wind up being super clutch. There's guys who are just kind of like, we can take care of the ball and let our skill guys take over. As long as you can win football games with the guys you have on the field, who gives a crap?
Yeah. I think too, like Brock Purdy, he's kind of a victim of social media a bit as well. And not like just like fans. It's like
actually very important. True.
Analysts, right? They're using social media as a tool to keep their brand or their whatever active and engaged. And so if you're somebody who talks about football and you want to drive some engagement, maybe your hot fucking take is about Brock Purdy, right? Whereas cuz last year Brock Purdy was a hero. He was a hero in football because he's Mr. Irrelevant.
Yep.
He saves the 49ers season.
Yep.
He's playing out of his mind every week. Just every week it was like 2 touchdowns. No picks for Brock Purdy. Niners look good. One off season. He's still good. He's still doing his thing. Niners were great until they lost the 3 in a row. And then all of a sudden, it's like a switch. All of a sudden, let's just start shitting on Brock Purdy because he's not as good as we think he should be. Has to pretend that Purdy and Jackson have narratives that they don't have. And I would say, if you're paying attention to, we already had a 49ers fan say, yes, please talk about this. So we're not making up narratives. Tom and I don't do that. And if we do, it's very, very facetious.
And dumb. I'm sorry. What? We haven't heard the Lamar Jackson being a running back narrative, then we might be new to football. And if that's so, I get it. That's fine.
Yeah.
We haven't heard the crapping on Brock Purdy that has happened all season. Then, bro, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? And maybe we're not involved in the sports media world, and that's cool. That's great. We hear this shit all the time. Yeah. All the time.
It's not every person in every show, but you hear them. You hear it's the same with Tua's in there, with Dak's in there, all of those things.
Yep.
All guys who are pretty good quarterbacks, but since they haven't won the Super Bowl, and since you got to make the cool throws, and you got to throw it really far once a game, we'll get the pass.
Dude, I mean, there's things you could criticize Brady about all day, every day. But if you hated Tom Brady, Brandon, Perna knows, right? There's also going to be additional things that are going to go on top of that. Yeah. But there's also positive narratives that let's take Matthew Stafford, for example. How long has Matthew Stafford been doing no-look passes? Patrick Mahomes doing it, and it's oh my, we've never seen this before.
Dude, people...
I'm not hating on Mahomes. I'm just saying these kind of narratives stick with QBs, and they will pull off a play, and the same, a different QB will pull off the same exact play, and they'll be oh, very Patrick Mahomes-esque. And it's no, they've been doing it before. It's just...
Dude, Matthew said people didn't even want to give Stafford credit after he won the Super Bowl.
That's accurate, yeah.
Still threw a lot of interceptions that season.
Dude, yeah.
No, he's still a stat patter.
And this is with Justin Fields too. He doesn't get the QB hit calls. Doesn't get that, right? But it's also, he is electric when he runs the ball. And if he goes to a team where that skill set can be built around, I think that they can win football games. I'm not saying he's ever going to be elite. I'm not saying he's going to be great. I'm not saying he's not going to be, because I think there are things and fundamentals he does need to work on. But you also need to work with the skill set that you have. And when you have a QB like a Josh Allen or a Dak Prescott, or like, you know what I mean?
Look
Because
how
those
much
QBs, you
the
get
Bills
compared
relied on Josh Allen to run the ball last night.
Yes. And like,
If your quarterback
whatever
can
it takes,
do it.
whatever it takes. Definitely, though, of course, spits on kids, of course. That's just Kirk Cousins. That's, of course.
Patrick Mahomes would have more rushing yards if he couldn't just slip out of every sack attempt behind the line of scrimmage. You know, like he's just the greasiest son of a bitch behind that line of scrimmage. And he extends plays and he just does it in a different way. He doesn't take off and run as much. Does a little more in the postseason.
Yeah.
But like Allen, Lamar, Fields, they run. And Russell Wilson this year was having more success when they were designing some rushes for him.
Yes.
Like, use that. It's such a weapon if your defense has to defend a running back and your quarterback running and the pass. And Lamar with Todd Monken there, like the progression that their offense made through this season and Lamar staying healthy, that's a big part of it. Like, they're just a more complete football team right now.
I get this. But the most important thing is you win games. Yeah. And can your quarterback help you win games? And if you have a guy who can help you win football games at the QB position, then it's your job as the coach and GM to put a team around them and coach those guys to then go and win. And then you can say, okay, here's our ceiling. This guy can't put us over the top. Let's go get a guy who can.
I want my quarterback to be Gabagooli, baby.
Yeah.
I want Usher to sing.
Yeah.
I want Usher to just do 9 Inch Nails.
9 Inch Nails.
Yeah.
Closer. All right. Take that.
How funny would that be? You're performing the Super Bowl and you just go do cover songs.
Oh, that's true too. And I'm not saying like there shouldn't be any hate on these guys. Like, all I'm saying is like if you're winning games and you're like talking loud, I get it.
Which
right?
fan base is that not though?
That's every single fan base. And like, sure, there's players who are more quiet than others, but I think at this point we have to be able to separate like fan bases from like the player and not let that narrative of like, oh, well, because the fan base or other players are really loud, that means that it's this player too is going to have to get the heat. Yeah. I know that creates like you have to have nuance, but
Brock Purdy's he's not even in enough commercials to hate. You know what I mean? He's not in enough commercials.
It's true. It's true. 9 Inch Nails, baby. But yeah, Texans should feel really good after this weekend. Exciting future. Packers, I know it's heartbreaking. Exciting future. Buccaneers, I think another team that's like, depending on what they do in the offseason, could be fun.
They're like, we got something to build off of if we want.
Yeah. Bills are going to have some work to do. There's definitely going to need to be, let's figure it out. If the Lions lose next week, still an insanely successful season, and they're only going to get better. That's the hope, for Lions fans. This is not like their window. To be
winners, those Lions.
Yeah, it's not their we need to win or we're screwed. Yeah. So, Perna, I'll end with this because we're starting to run out of time.
Yeah.
Out of the 4 teams remaining, which team has to win the Super Bowl? That they lose, you're like, they'll be all right next season. I think the Lions will be fine next season.
Sure.
The Chiefs are going to be fine next season because they're just going to go get wide receivers. The Ravens, maybe a little bit. I think it's the 49ers.
Yeah,
I think
they get so there. Close. Sure, 100%.
So close. If they lose in the Super Bowl, if they get to the Super Bowl, they lose in the NFC Championship game, and it's not because of injury or anything like that. I know Debo's 50-50 to play.
Yeah.
It's like, crap. Like, what do we need to do? Because we can't get over the hump. Because they can get there. You see that they can get there. Why they can't win it?
Yeah, that's what team's stuck on the hump. Sure, 49ers. Because I mean, the Ravens winning last week was already like getting over one little hump there, right?
Yes.
Lamar got to win 2 playoff games. I think that's a hump. So if the Ravens get to the Super Bowl, it's kind of like, yeah, look, we extended Lamar, we put together this great team. So yeah, I agree. I agree. The Lions, like, if they win, it's just like all glory. There's no team that they have the least to lose, the Detroit Lions.
Correct. I think at the end, like the Lions, if they somehow win a Super Bowl, it's like the Aaron Rodgers Packers, like 2010, 2011 run where they're like, wow, they won before it seemed like they were supposed to. because they got hot at the right time and they wound up winning. And then we're like, yeah, dynasty. And then it never happened.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just gotta get while you can. Yeah, Shane Waldron seems to be the guy for the OC. It's gonna be interesting because I know Seahawks fans have some issues with Waldron. I think it's just gonna be about play calling. The play calling is gonna be. I think he's a vet. Like he knows what he's doing. I'm curious to see what QB he's gonna be, coaching, but more so like what the play calling is gonna look like in Chicago, because I think that's the only thing that's up in the air. If you didn't know it was more Pete Carroll or if it was Waldron, but it's gonna be interesting.
I am.
It'll be interesting. But Perna, what do you got coming out today?
Winners and losers.
Yes,
of the
much better than Getsy.
Divisional weekend.
Much better than Getsy. Definitely.
Yeah,
it's not now. That is a loss. Don't get me wrong, because you saw what happened with the Eagles, right? And apparently Brian Johnson might be coming back. Like that's what it seems to be indicating. Which, so sorry. I know they fired Desai, but yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Not the guy.
I recorded every NFL fan's reaction to the divisional round already. I recorded it this morning, so I'll have that out within the hour. And then if the NFL was scripted, divisional round will be dropping later tonight. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. We're going to have a
100% not a possibility, Nick. Him and Lynch extended. He there to stay.
Well, folks, we appreciate the heck out of you. We'll be back on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. We'll also be streaming the AFC Championship game together. I'll, of course, be streaming the NFC Championship game. But, folks, thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. This is GPS. And you have been...
Arrivederci, destination,